Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is the collapsing stock from a rifle. My son, as I think I may have mentioned previously, is getting into Airsoft, and he recently bought himself a new rifle. So what he's bought himself is a G&G Armaments M4 derivative. He actually didn't want an M4, funnily enough. Basically what he said, and I did kind of agree with him, he said, everybody's got M4s, I want something a little bit different. Anyway, the thing is, all the things we were looking at were ferociously expensive. And I spoke to the guy who runs our local Airsoft site, who's a lovely chap, very helpful. We bought the gun from him, and one of the reasons this guy's very helpful is because he just wants you to enjoy the the activity. I mean, it's like when we spoke to him about getting a rifle, this was what he recommended. It's a fairly cheap entry-level model, and he said, you can go out and buy these really expensive guns, and they're great, but when you're just a beginner, you don't need a gun like that. And I mean, I said the main thing I was interested in was reliability. I want him to be able to just put the batteries in, put a magazine in it, and it shoots. And apparently this is the thing. Anyway, so he ended up getting this. And I said to him, and this is the whole point of this video, we can always paint it to make it look different, make it look unique. And the reason we went for this colour scheme is because he has a Scorpion SMG, and when we bought that, it was a two-tone gun, and it's half black and half red. And as it turns out, he said it to me first, but I'd been thinking anyway, that it actually looks pretty good in black and red. So I said to him, well, we'll get this rifle. It was tan when we got it, and I said we can always take the handguard and everything off and the stock and paint them and make them a bit more interesting. So that's where we've got to this point. So I've got the stock here. I've also got the handguard here as well, the same red. The rest of the gun is black. The black metal it came in. And the paint that I used on this was just, not that it really matters, but it's this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. This is cherry red, but this was the first can of red paint I picked up. So it's not any particular choice of colour. But my boy came to me the other day and he said, could you put a design on it for me? And I said, well, I'll give it a go. what have you got in mind? And he's a big fan of the video game Titanfall and Titanfall 2. And there is a camo scheme in the game, in Titanfall 2, I believe it is. And it's called Bullseye. And this is what it looks like. So as you can see, it's kind of it's a red base with a black hexagonal pattern with white accents. So what I'm going to try and do today is put that design on here. I'm not going to go mad with it because obviously it's going to get battered around, the paint's going to get knocked off. I don't think it's going to last very long, but we'll give it a go. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put it on here. I'm also going to try and put it on the handguard. That's obviously going to be a bit more tricky because of the shape of the handguard, but I think it's doable. One of the nice things about this handguard is it only has the Picatinny rail on the top. The rest of it is this, was it M-Lock, I think it's called, which is these rail sections that you buy, and they have clips on the back, and they basically fit into the slots on the handguard, and you can put them where you want. So it means that this is a lot flatter here. The top I'm going to leave, and I might try and put it down the sides, but I'll give it a go and see how it works. But anyway, to start with this, so let me show you how I plan to do this. So what I've got here is masking tape. This is 75mm masking tape, and I bought this quite a while ago, and I believe I bought it to use on the 3D printer, and I actually never used it for that. And I have used a little bit of it for another project, but not very much at all. So I've got this nice wide masking tape. So that's the first thing. Now the other thing I've got is this. Now this is it's actually a quilting stencil, but it's basically hexagons. It's a series of hexagons, so it's perfect for what we're going to do. And I think, looking at the size of this and the design that's on there, I haven't quite figured out what size to use yet, but I'm thinking possibly maybe inch or inch and a quarter hexagons, probably inch. And what I'll do is I'll basically draw a load of these, cut them out of the masking tape, and then I can put them on here to mask it, and then just spray the hexagon pattern. It's going to be quite time consuming, but I think it's going to be the easiest way to do it. So let's get on with that. Right, so what I've got here is a kitchen tile, just an old kitchen tile. Now I normally use this for cutting like photo etch and stuff like that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of the masking tape on here. Stop it sticking to my fingers, like that, and I'll just cut that off across there. So I'll just put that down. I'm not pressing it down super tight, but just enough to get it started, just so it sticks. And I've got a pencil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our stencil and I am going to put it on the edge like that, draw around it, and then do the same thing here. Like that. Now obviously I could interlock these, but the reason I'm doing it like this is because it'll make them easier to cut out. I need quite a lot of these, I think. So I'll get these cut out, and then we'll look at how we're going to use them. Right, so I've got a few of these done now, so I'm going to start putting them on here. I think it's because, like I say, this is going to be quite time consuming. But we'll see how we go. So I think we'll start right there in the middle. Kind of like that. So now I've got the first one on. I've put a line of masking tape down the side. I'll just put a little bit on the other side as well. But this line here will basically give me the spacing for the next one down. So what I'll do is get the next one, I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, but, and I will put that like that, you see, and then I will take another one. So that will give me the spacing for that one, and then I can do the same on the other side and kind of work my way down. There's probably a much easier way of doing this, but if there is, I don't know what it is. Please leave a note in the comments. By then it'll be far too late, but anyway. Alright, and then we'll put another bit here. And then we'll take another one of these and put it here. Now you can see I put a line of masking tape on each side at the bottom, and that's basically as far as I'm going to go. I'm just going to I'm not going to do this bit because that'd be way too complicated. So I've just used this to give me a kind of a straight edge along the bottom to work to, or work towards. Right, so let's just carry on. This is going to take ages, so just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. So this has been about an hour and a half so far of masking, but you know, we're about halfway through. It's fine. It probably would have been easier to have just got someone to laser cut me a stencil, but yeah, this is what it is. And the thing is, he's got a match at the weekend, so I want to get this done by then. Yeah, onwards. Right, so after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, here it is, masked up. This is obviously the stock. I'm going to have a go at the handguard as well in a minute. What I've done is, you can see I've left some of the spacers on here, and that's because I'm going to take these ones off and spray them white, and then once that's dry, I'll put the mask back on so I can spray the rest of it. But it's just basically so that I can reposition the ones I take off. But I'm going to leave those on for now, mask up the rest of it, and we'll have a look at the handguard. Right, so that's the handguard done. It was actually easier than I thought it was going to be, because all the slots and everything on it actually made it a lot easier to line up the different bits, so that's worked out quite well. So now it's time to put some paint on these parts, and originally I was going to do this with the airbrush, but I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do the whole thing with rattle cans, and just to kind of show you that you can do stuff like this without having to go out and buy loads of expensive equipment. I'm going to use these Humbrol acrylics. These came from Hobbycraft, and I'm going to use these basically because they dry quickly. You can use normal, enamel rattle cans. It's just they take a long time to dry and they stink. So I've got this one white. It's a white primer, I should say. And then here I've got a black primer, but they're both basically matte colours. So I'll use these. I'm going to spray these outside because they do still stink. But I'll go and do what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you how it's all going together. So the first step is the stock. Now if you remember, 2 of these were going to be done in white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off these 2 hexagons. If I knew what I'd done with my tweezers. There they are. And I'll just peel these off and put them to one side. And now I'm going to mask up the rest of this just quickly, and then I'm going to spray each area of this white, and then once that's dry I'll put the hexagons back on, and then we'll do all the black. Alright, so back in a sec. Right, so I've just sprayed the white on there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these pieces back on and then spray the whole thing black. Right, so I've sprayed this with the black. I've done the handguard as well. I'm going to dry these off, and then we can take off the masking tape and see how well we did. Back in a sec. Right, let's see how this works out. Not too bad. Right, let's just peel the edges of these up and I'll get these off. You see, there's a few bits here where the paint's peeled, but I'm not worried about that because it just makes it look more weathered. So I'll take all of this off and then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, well there we go, that doesn't look too bad, does it? What I'm going to do now, I'll show you the handguard first. So that's the stock. There's the handguard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give both of them a coat of a matte clear, again out of a rattle can, and hopefully that should kind of unify everything and protect the paint as much as possible. So I'll go away and do that, and then we'll have a final look at it. Alright, so this is what it looks like with a couple of coats of a matte polyurethane varnish on it out of a rattle can. It's not perfect. I mean, I could touch it up and you know, make it a little bit better, but I think, to be honest, it just kind of adds to it. And it's certainly good enough for what he's going to be doing with it. There's the hand guard as well. So, like I say, this paint's probably going to get knocked off in about 5 minutes. But yeah, I think that'll do him quite nicely. Let's put these back on the rifle and see what the whole thing looks like. And here is the finished article. I'm quite pleased with how this has come out. Actually, I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, it's a close approximation of the setup he wanted. It certainly makes the rifle look a lot different, and it's a lot more unique than all of the other M4s that everyone is carrying. And here's a picture of my son, resplendent in all his kit. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. It was an interesting little project for me. If you want to see more kind of content like this, by all means let me know. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Bye.